Modern criminology has entered the scientific era and has incorporated scientific features of experimentation. The various branches of the criminal justice system, like investigation, trials, prosecution, and conviction, have advanced in their approach, content, and output. The criminal justice system of every country is witnessing increasing varieties of criminal cases. As a result, criminology, which is devoted to the study of crime and criminals, is expanding its horizon in depth and has now given rise to a number of theories of crime causation. These theories have stemmed from sociological, psychological, economic, group culture, subculture, geographic, and opportunity factors. One major trend in modern criminology is its transition from negativist approach to positivist approach. This unit introduces you to the modern criminology starting from the positivist approach. You will learn from this unit the meaning and origin of positivist approach to criminology, major features of positivist approach to criminology, the transition from negativism to positivism in criminal justice system, empirical approach, drawbacks of positivist approach to criminology, future of criminology. Now let us see the meaning and origin of positivism in criminology. The term positivism coincides with the term optimism. Good intention is the basis of positivism and optimism. Good intention is generally reflected in all the endeavors of any individual, and good intentions of many people can lead to the transition of a system from negativist approach to a positivist approach, which results in the greatest benefit to the greatest number of people. Positivism in criminology occupies the central place in modern criminology. The positivist school looks at the person behind a crime in relation to the environment and not simply in terms of intention. Before the modern criminal laws took shape in many countries, England was witnessing a very worst situation in the sphere of punishments to crimes. Very cruel practices of punishments were there in the 18th century England and other countries. There was an extreme negativist approach in the punishments meted out to the offenders. Improper or no trials with no investigation of crimes and hasty prosecution with a judgment which pronounced extreme punishments even for small offences. Women and children also were not spared from such extreme forms of punishments. Deterrence, that is creating a threat among the offenders in particular and the people in general, was the aim of punishments of the 18th century. Some of the punishments which were in practice in the 18th century were lodging the offenders in dungeon-like prisons at the sub-sea levels, putting the offenders in hard chains and taking them inside the cages through the streets. While the prisoners were taken in cages, the people were allowed to injure them with spears and arrows from outside, making the prisoner sit on a stool of nails, piercing the ears and tongue of the prisoner with red-hot needle, severing the hands or legs of the prisoner or fingers, cutting off the tongue of the prisoner, whipping the prisoner for hundreds of times, hanging the prisoner in the public. Besides these cruel punishments, death sentences were carried out in the most cruel forms in many countries. In India, in Tamil Nadu for example, during the 8th century, the followers of a religion were made to sit on a 10 feet tall wooden post with a sharp edge at the top. Once they were made to sit on the sharp pole, the pole would pierce through the body of the victims and would come out jutting through the skull or the neck. In China and Japan in the ancient times, the victim was tied to a pole or tree, and 4 or 5 archers were ordered to shoot arrows in the body of the victim. Countries of the Middle East still have some cruel methods of punishments practiced since ancient times. The intention behind all these punishments was deterrence, that is, create a sense of terror or fear in the minds of the offenders. It was based on the contention that crimes were committed intentionally and therefore the offenders should be avenged for the offences committed by them. Now we will see the origin of the positivist school of criminology. Almost till the beginning of the 19th century, the field of criminology did not take shape, mainly because of the negativist approach. Positive approach to criminology started from the classical school of criminology, which consisted of the philosophers like Cesare Beccaria, Jeremy Bentham, Rousseau, Voltaire, Montesquieu, etc. Cesare Beccaria and Jeremy Bentham created a wave of transformation in the field of criminology from negativist approach to a positivist approach. Beccaria's contribution to criminology was his conviction that every punishment should be in proportion to the extent of crime. This principle is accepted even today under certain legal provisions. Beccaria was followed by Jeremy Bentham, Montesquieu, Voltaire, and Rousseau, who spread the message of social contract, which according to them forms the basis of modern democratic governments. Beccaria did not support the view that severe punishments would help in reducing crimes. On the other hand, he believed that appropriate, prompt and sure punishments would act as a deterrent against crimes by creating a fear of crime. He was of the opinion that capital punishment, that is death punishment, is barbarous and that it would not deter crimes. He is of the contention that capital punishment does not find a place in the social contract. Jeremy Bentham also did not support capital punishment. He said that criminal law should not be applied to avenge the offender, but should aim only at checking crimes. He also advocated measures to reform the inmates of the jails. Similar views were expressed by the German lawyer Paul von Feuerbach, who was of the view that the aim of punishment was not to avenge the offender, but to protect the rights of the people. He also advocated that every crime should be defined, indicating the appropriate punishment. Yet another positivist was Rafael Garofalo, a Spanish born in Italy. He was both a professor of criminal law and magistrate. He revealed his positivist approach in his book Criminology, published in 1885. Garofalo was a positivist and insisted on the need for empirical research in criminology with an interdisciplinary approach. Now let us see the major features of positivist approach. Modern criminology draws its positivism from the writings of Cesare Beccaria, Jeremy Bentham and Rafael Garofalo of the 19th century. The positivist approach in modern criminology is found in the entire gamut of the modern criminal justice system. In the modern criminology, criminality and crime are looked at from different angles. The Indian Penal Code, for example, defines each and every crime or offence and prescribes the punishment as per the provisions of criminal laws. Evidence is given the greatest importance in the trials and prosecution of an offender. In the earlier times, evidence was not given much importance. The modern criminal justice system consists of the following positivist features. 100 criminals may escape, but not one innocent should be punished. During the trials, the benefit of doubt in a case should always go to the accused. Every crime shall be proved beyond doubt. Until then, the accused shall be considered as innocent. Juveniles, even if they commit crimes falling under IPC, should be tried and convicted only in the juvenile courts and not in the adult courts. During the period of trials, the juveniles should be sent only to special homes and not to the jails. Even after conviction, the juveniles should be sent only to the special homes like Boston schools where one can pursue his or her education. Adult prisons are no doubt places of deterrence to crimes, but the ultimate aim of imprisonment is correction of the inmates and their rehabilitation and not punishment. Well behaved prisoners are taken to the open prisons, which are almost like camps where the inmates are allowed freedom of movement even outside the prisons. Facilities for vocational training and education at various levels are provided in the modern prisons in a bid to create opportunities for rehabilitation of the prisoners when they are released. The Supreme Court of India has even mooted out the idea that for offences which warrant up to 7 years of imprisonment, one need not be sent to jails but may be placed under probation. All these measures show a positive and soft approach of the modern criminal justice system. How far they are in practice could be questioned, but wherever possible they are being practiced. Now let us move to the transition from negativism to positivism in the criminal justice system. The origin of positivism is generally traced back to the writings of the 18th and 19th century philosophers like Beccaria, Bentham, Garofalo and their followers, who are grouped under the new classical school. However, the transition of the criminal justice system and criminology was effected by the Universal Declaration of Human Rights on 10th December 1948. A number of covenants with reference to particular rights have been drafted and signed by the member countries of the UN. In order to prevent police suppression of the accused, the Supreme Court of India issued 11 guidelines to be followed in all cases of arrest and detention. These guidelines are meant for safeguarding the fundamental rights of the accused. The Apex Court has also given guidelines regarding handcuffing of the accused while taking them to the court. The UN has clearly stated that all forms of violation of human rights by the police with reference to the accused must be avoided. The policemen were very notorious earlier for many kinds of ill treatment and torture of the accused. Beating the accused and compelling him to make a confession, making him sit on a sharp material, giving electric shock, burning the victim on his face or other parts with a cigar, hitting on the abdomen were very common in the police stations. Lock-up deaths were also common until 1980s. Such repressive methods followed by the police are generally referred to as third-degree interrogation. Third-degree interrogation is completely banned at present. In fact, policemen who practice third-degree interrogation are themselves liable for prosecution. In spite of all these efforts, police atrocities continue in different parts of the country. However, the general situation relating to the arrest, detention and treatment given by the police to the accused is far better now than what it was before 1960s. Police encounter shootings and consequent deaths of the accused or suspects are viewed seriously by the National Human Rights Commission and State Human Rights Commissions. As a result, many police officers at the IPS level and lower levels have been charge-sheeted and imprisoned for the hasty act of encounters. Such a positive approach in criminology could be seen more in the prisons in the form of correctional administration. It would be apt to quote Dwivedi Bedi here. Many prison systems have become highly organized for promoting labor within penal institutions. Numerous forms of industry have been fostered. For example, in addition to agriculture, the manufacture of binder twine, sign tags, shoes, clothing, tobacco, tin utensils and furniture find a place in the modern prisons. Dvaivedi mentions two systems of prison labor. They are production of goods for open market and for state use. Many state central prisons in India and other countries have become well organized workplaces. They have small industries with lathe machines producing tools and spares for big industries outside. The open prisons in India have their own agricultural systems, which have made the open prisons self-dependent for their food grains requirements. The prisoners inside the four walls work in the industries organized in the prisons and earn an income, which compensates for expenditure incurred by them by the state. Positivism in criminology and the criminal justice system is very well reflected in the change of view on the prisons. Prisons are now to be addressed as correctional centers and not as prisons. Centers of researchers in correctional administration called Regional Institute of Correctional Administration, shortly known as RICA, have been established in 5 states including Tamil Nadu at Vellore. Many NGOs are doing a good job in this connection. The Indira Gandhi National Open University is doing a yeoman service to the inmates of the central prisons in the country by providing educational facilities at various levels. A few other distance education institutions are also providing some educational courses to the prison inmates within their jurisdictions. The state governments are also providing many programs of rehabilitation for the inmates in their central prisons. Now let us pass on to the empirical approach. The positivist school of criminologists made empirical approach to classify the criminals according to their circumstances, their psychology, physique, etc. Empirical approach to crimes helped in freeing criminology from the narrow negativist approach to a more positivist approach. Empirical classification based on data relating to the characteristics of criminals and his environment has led to many factors other than inherent criminality of the criminal. This has not only helped in rationalizing the punishment according to the circumstances and evidences of a crime, but also promoting the measures of rehabilitation of the criminals. Thus, empirical approach has increased the scope of correctional administration. It can be said that the modern criminal justice system is more positivist than what it was about a century back. Yet another dimension of positivist influence of the modern criminology is crime prevention, which again draws its strength from empirical approach. The basic philosophy of crime prevention is plugging the opportunities for crime from short-term and long-term angles. Measures of short-term crime prevention involve strategies, while long-term crime prevention involves remedial systems relating to socio-economic and educational systems. All these measures have very much strengthened the ground for positivism in modern criminology. It can be said in this connection that positivism and empirical research in criminology always go together. Now let us pass on to the drawbacks of positivism in criminology. The humanity has been witnessing greater positivism in all the problems since the second half of the 20th century. Many kinds of socio-economic and political institutions have been created with greater efforts of research and development. Greater welfare of the community is the goal of positivism. This is applicable to the sphere of criminology also. The entire field of the criminal justice system is poised for crime prevention. However, the humanity is also witnessing the drawbacks of an overdose of positivism. An overdose of positivism is generally identified with loopholes of law and lenience in authority. This is often exploited by a small section of the society. For example, the prison authorities now find it very difficult to control the inmates of the prisons. The drawbacks of positive criminology is more reflected in the juvenile justice system. The juveniles who are below 18 years are tried and convicted only in the juvenile courts, even if they commit the most heinous crimes like rape and murder. In the Delhi rape case of January 2013, a young lady was gang raped in a running bus and thrown out of the bus. The rape victim died as a consequence. One of the accused, who happened to be a minor, that is below 18 years, was tried in Delhi juvenile court and was just awarded 3 years of sentence, of which he has to spend about less than a year in the juvenile home. This has created a commotion throughout the nation. Yet another drawback of positive criminology is seen in the huge pendency of criminal cases. Pendency of cases occurs because investigations, trials and prosecution depend on the strength of evidences. This is only in line with the proverb, 100 criminals may escape but not one innocent should be punished. Another legal implication is every crime should be proved beyond doubt. As a result, not only pendency of cases but also acquittals are on the increase more than the convictions. Yet another drawback of positivism in the criminal justice system is increasing number of remand convicts. That is, the number of accused facing trials or remanded to judicial custody is on the increase year by year because trials do not easily come to an end except in very few sensational cases. If the investigation and prosecution sides are not able to put up strong evidence against the accused, the prosecution becomes weak and the accused, even if he had really committed the crime, gets acquitted. Thus, many a criminal are getting acquitted every day or every year. Lastly, the dictum that until the crime is proved beyond doubt, the accused should not be treated as criminal has enabled those in power and with money to continue to enjoy all the freedoms which are generally denied to ordinary citizens. Now let us summarize. In spite of all the drawbacks stated above, the positivism of modern criminology continues to be practiced all over the world. India is fully in line with positivism except with regard to capital punishment, which continues till date. Otherwise, the Indian criminal justice system today is more positive today than what it was about a century back.